This is an 8th video working on this pool table project in Blender, and in this video we're going to do some UV stuff. So I'll select my felt, take it into edit mode, look at it from a top view, snap my cursor to that selection to center my cursor, and I'm going to need some measuring lines to draw onto my UV image. So I'm going to add a plane and scale that along the y-axis by 9.6, which is more or less the scale of our play area. Go into edges mode so I can see things better. Subdivide that cube, so use the W key to subdivide it. Then deselect all and brush select only the vertical edges. So I'll select those and subdivide those again. That places all the lines for my markings on the table. I'll split my work area, turn one into the UV image editor, press number pad 7 to ensure I'm in the top view, rotate my view using number pad 6, center by pressing the C key, zoom in, select all, and I zoom in until my felt is getting near to the edge of the work area. That affects the way that it'll unwrap. I'll use the U key to unwrap it. That calls up UV calculation, and I'll use project from view, and that's where zooming in comes into play. And I'll zoom in on this. I'm going to grab it and locate it along the corner edge, and I can ignore the measuring line portion of the UV because it's not relevant at all. So I'll zoom in and just line this up with the corner. And that's going to save room on our image to map other objects to. With it lined up there, I can then export it. So I'll go into UVs, Scripts, Save UV Face Layout. I'll use a size of 1024, all the other settings default. OK. I'll use a default name, but confirm that the directory is going into my working directory for this project and save that layout. Go into vertices, select one vertices in that measuring line, use Ctrl L to selecting linked, and delete that because we don't need that measuring line anymore. Then minimize Blender. I've got a lot of clutter on my screen here. I'm going to be using the graphics program, the GIMP. So I'll drag and drop that file into the GIMP, resize my window so that it fits into the video better. Control Shift E to size my image to fit in the window. And then pull that out a bit so that my edge of the image isn't hugging the edge of the window. It makes selections easier. I'm going to need the layers dialog, so I'll come into Windows, Dockable Dialogs, Layers, call up the Layers palette. Add a new layer. For Layers option, I'm going to set a layer fill type of white. This is going to blot out the measuring lines. To bring them back, I'll reduce the opacity of that layer to 50%, or around 50%. We want to make sure that we're working in the new layer, because that's going to be our UV image. The other layer is just measuring lines. We use the rectangular select tool, select a color, so go into the color picker. I'll pick a preset green for my felt, and make a selection that will cover the entire UV map, face layout map here. And again, I can ignore the measuring lines because they're not relevant. They're already deleted off of our Blender image. The other edges of this, I'll pull right off of the image. They're not important. So I'll fill that with the foreground color. Change over to a white color. Pull 3 of these edges so that they're off of the image. And the 4th edge I'll line up with the measuring line for our markings. And zoom in on that so I can get that into an accurate location. That looks good there. So I'll use the right mouse button to call up the menus, go into edit, and stroke that selection. I'll use a line width 3 pixels. And stroke that. Select all, use the ellipse tool, enable the expand from center option, and again I'll zoom in close, a little bit closer so I can see better. So I'll zoom into that, place my cursor centered on the white line and the center measuring line, and just initiate the start of a circle, and zoom back so I can see the circle more in terms of the table scale. And I didn't come up with any specific measure for the circle, so I'm just gonna eyeball that out. I'm not shooting for a tournament table or anything. So I'll go into the edit dialog and stroke that selection. For a circle I'll use a line width of 2 because circles tend to come out a little chubbier than lines. Now that's only supposed to be a semicircle, so I'll select all, go to my rectangular select tool, flip my color back to green and make a rectangular selection that'll cover that entire circle. And zoom in so I can butt that up against the white line accurately. Go into the edit menu and fill with foreground color. And that will erase half of the circle. We'll select all, return to the black and white color scheme, go to a paintbrush tool. I'll need to set up a scale for my paintbrush tool, and we'll paint on the black dots. So we'll zoom in to do that. I'm only going to be able to do this so accurately because I'm going to hurry this. So I'll place those as accurately as I can. On the 3 measure lines, flip my color over to a white and reduce the size of my brush, and fill in a white dot in the center. So we'll fill in a white dot here. Only got a couple minutes left in this video, so I'm hurrying this and my dots might not be that accurate. I'll use Ctrl-Shift-E to resize my image into the window. Go back to the rectangular select tool, select all, just out of good habit. Select the entire felt. Come into the filters dialog, noise, HSV noise, and I'm going to add hue saturation value noise at default settings. Come over into the layers dialog, return the opacity of the upper layer, delete the lower layer, flatten the image, and then save that image. So I'll save as, and I'll use the name uv.bmp, BMP being the bitmap file extension. So I'll save that. That'll go into my working directory. We'll go back into Blender, into the UV image section, select all first. Image, open, select my UV bitmap, open image. That'll place it into the UV image editor. We'll come down into the materials panel and initiate the text face option for that material. And then we'll have a quick look at it in texture mode. Now we have the lines and dots onto our felt, and I'm out of time for this video. In the next video we'll do a render and have a look at what that looks like. And until then, happy modeling.